But okay. All right. Some mixed messaging. How like life, right? Um, so on the bottom of the deck, we have the Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man is kind of a suspension in the action, meaning a temporary pause in whatever you've been going through. For some of you, this could be regrouping. It could be just because of the holidays having occurred, family in town, all the rest of that. But whatever your goals are, they have been put on some temporary hold. Now, the Hanged Man put himself or herself into this position of suspension. So this is not about torture. This is about changing your perspective in the world, going within, seeking enlightenment. And therefore, this person's not suffering, but rather they are becoming enlightened. And you'll notice the halo around the head chakra here, around the crown chakra. We see here the beginning, something new, some new passion. This is about passion being put into action, right? New beginnings in a passionate pursuit. So we've been seeing this Hanged Man energy, which is this temporary pause or suspension. Either you've had this pretty quick moving energy, or you're about to have it begin again once you get out of this Hanged Man suspension state. So there has been some stuff going on. We see there may have been some kind of squabbles, petty squabbles, over the holidays here that you've been going through that may come up again. For some people, they find themselves overextended during the holiday period. And so they're having struggles with bills and they're arguing amongst the family members with that. There could be just other kinds of things that are going on. Sometimes this can represent internal struggle, but there's a lot of heatedness that's going on in here. We see at the bottom of this, there's some fast moving energy. Now, wands can be Leo, Sagittarius, or Aries energy. And this can be something passionate that's coming in. For some of you that are single, this could be about a new sexual or passionate relationship taking off the ground. But where there's one kind of passion, there could often be other kinds of passion, and that could be why we're seeing some petty squabbles between you and your new significant other. Then again, if you are in a relationship already, this could be a renewal of the passion within the relationship, or unfortunately, it could be the toxic type of passion where you guys are arguing, because we are seeing that too. Okay, so this could be sexual or kind of a general emotional interaction kind of passion. This card in this position really expresses this desire to balance out your emotions and your logic so that you can begin to move forward again. This is another card of suspended action, because you'll notice that the sphinxes are laying down in front of the wheels of this chariot. And the charioteer is trying to get these two harnessed together to move forward for a singular purpose. So again, we see this type of suspension here for the purpose of enlightenment, but this is also, once we become enlightened, we may have a better sense of how to harness our conflicting impulses. It's good to have emotions because they tell us who we are and what our needs are, but we need our logic to say, here's how we can get what we want emotionally in a socially appropriate way. So we need the balance of these two energies, and the enlightenment that comes through the Hanged Man energy will help you to do this. And then there's that sense of moving forward. Now, even as the Knight of Wands indicated possible Sagittarius, Aries, or Leo energy, Chariot possibly could be a Cancer. So you may have a Cancer person on your mind. Take it as it resonates. I do mean horoscope sign of Cancer. There's some kind of truth that is coming in. But I feel like in this reading, given that we're having some squabbles and such, it may be that whatever the truth is, it may even be harshness. Maybe somebody needs to learn how to say it better. Usually this is victory or success, triumph. But be careful that if you are experiencing victory, success, and triumph, it's not coming at somebody else's expense. Choose your words carefully and know that they do stick around. And a lot of times our words can occupy space in someone else's mind, whether we intended for them to come off that strongly. If you find yourself thinking to yourself or saying even out loud, oh, get over it. It could be because, some of your Scorpion, what does a Scorpion have? Those harsh little snappy these things, whatever they're called, pincers, I don't know, whatever, could be, you could be stinging somebody with your tail or whatever, pick a body part. The scorpion's got it. So be very careful that you're not also contributing to this. And just because it's true doesn't mean that it needs to be said. Because when we follow this natural progression and we see some serious anxiety here, this person's sitting up in bed and they're crying, and this is you, right? This is about worry. This is about stress. This is about anxiety, grief, loss. Could it be prevented? Well, looking at the projection, somebody's going to say something or do something, and you're not going to like it. There's some victory that's going on in here. This could play out in a bunch of different ways. Now in your illumination, if you've been experiencing squabbles with other people, and this could also indicate some sort of self-awareness that comes about, some sort of self-awareness that comes about in your hanged man state. And sometimes when we do have a self-awareness, especially if we start to tap into one of our flaws, or one of our areas for growth, that can create a deal of distress within us first. Because remember, there's a mourning or a grief. We had a perception of ourselves in one way, and then that's not happening. We have to come to terms with the reality of that situation. So we have to mourn it first. And given the spectrum, this is only a 15-day spread. So, beyond that, we don't see the healing that comes after you've shed the tears. But be careful that you're not using your thoughts in such a way that you're going round and round and round in your own mind. You're not spinning your own wheels on some kind of a topic. Now, I could go two different ways. Since we're on that, let's come to this Queen of Swords here. Now, Queen of Swords, possible Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. This is somebody who speaks her mind and is willing to tell it like it is. And that could be in part what this Ace of Swords was. When a Queen of Swords is in the upright, she can be funny, she can be wise, smart, savvy, creative in all kinds of ways. When she's in her shadow side, she can cut to the bone and be very, very tough to deal with, and see things just slice you with her words in a way that will be very hard to recover. That can torpedo people for years even. So, given the reaction, some kind of truth, or somebody speaks some kind of truth to a situation, and we see this coming into this scenario. And this person's going to occupy your headspace as you're going through these cycles anyway. So this may be a woman who's important to you. Doesn't have to be a technical woman, but, a female sexed person. It could be a male operating in whatever this kind of energy is. But again, something affects you very strongly in that interaction. So you definitely want to watch out for that. Now, you've been feeling a lot of burden and a lot of responsibility. You're carrying a huge load. And again, we've got yet another fire sign going on in here. So there could be some Leo, Aries, Sagittarius influences coming into play here. There is a responsibility that you have to carry, and trying to balance all that stuff out may be tough. However, we also see, oddly placed, we see this happy family card. So whatever this energy is, it's probably not happening at home, but it could be that something is going on outside of the home. And I'm thinking of this in a business sense, maybe in social relationships with friends, that there's been some kind of maybe gossiping, petty squabbles going on, some backstabbing and things like that. You're trying to handle your relationships. You're trying to take care of your responsibilities. And there may be some cattiness that's going on that makes you feel shut out in some way, or that there's some kind of pain that comes from that. Now, be careful that it's not you operating in that or creating that. for someone else. But this does look like somebody, this Queen of Swords, is taking up some headspace for you and giving you some sleepless nights because she says something that cuts you to the bone that you perceive as being true, even though you can't stand to think that it would be true. And this kind of comes about as a result of some of this squabbling here, and people are picking up their clubs and everybody's launching in and they've all got their fiery, passionate opinions and they're all delivering it. And in the meanwhile, not only do you have these responsibilities because you got a busy home life going on, but then in your work environment or your social relationships, this dynamic goes on and it kind of sets you back a little bit. So let me, now those were the Rider Tarot deck. I call it the Rider Waite. And then Denise Lynn's Sacred Traveler for our Oracle cards. So let me shuffle this, see if Spirit has any words of advice to help you through this situation. Because it does look like you're dealing with some difficult difficult personalities and all the rest of that. I dropped the cards, so give me just a moment. Whoops. Sorry, cards. Sorry, Spirit. Give me a moment. It's kind of cold in here, but I need the lamp on, and don't ask. I've got a space heater, but it tends to short circuit it tends to trip the breaker. Okay. Joy and delight. All right, let's see. So, joy and delight. Open your heart to joy. You do not need to suffer to grow. You can grow leaps and bounds through joy. True happiness comes from following the dictates of your soul. Do what gives you joy. Celebrate and have fun. Stop and embrace life, yourself, and others. Say yes. Take steps today to expand your joy. You don't need to do it all at once, but you do need to start. Your purpose in life is to experience joy. Allow joy and ecstasy to flow through you wildly and freely. Share, because I'm a substance abuse counselor, of course, I'm thinking, they don't mean ecstasy, the pills. Share your love. Happiness spreads to others like wildfire and can help heal the world. The Sacred Traveler wants you to know, the Sacred Traveler knows that it's not just about reaching the destination. It's about the joy of the journey. The traveler stops periodically to savor the simple pleasures of the voyage. If you don't follow your bliss now, when will you? You've been waiting until circumstances are different because you experience true happiness. You may have a long wait. It's simple. When you focus on the areas of your life that bring you joy, these areas will prosper. One of the fastest paths to happiness is through sharing and giving. So give of your heart and follow your bliss. Joy is your spiritual birthright. And you know, when I was reading that, I was thinking about how this is kind of the opposite energy, right? There's a sense of, if joy and delight, if your family and your happy home life is what's important to you, one way to get through this is to recognize that the petty squabble energies, the difficult people in your life are only as important to you as you make them important. Because they're not the ones that you're going home to at the end of the day. If they are, that's a whole different story, but that's really not reading, because this 10 of Cups card here is really the happy family. It's about spiritual joy. It really is the joy and delight card here. By tapping in and focusing, prioritizing your family in your home life, and I do mean your immediate family, that will help diminish the size of this painful experience with this Queen of Swords melodrama going on.